Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Home Park. Welcome to what is a beautiful day in Devon. Not that we're doing it any justice here. We're under a big roof, but the pitch is covered in sunshine, and it's a lovely day. We can see a lot of yellow shirts in that away end just to our right. 1,100 Norwich City fans, mostly from Norfolk, I would assume, maybe from some of the surrounding areas as well, here to support Johannes Torup's team. And I guess the thing that we're looking away from today's game at the moment is that the scores as they currently stand, West Brom and Coventry both losing. If that is the case, come kick-off, then Norwich City will have an opportunity to reduce that gap to 4 points. 4 points. So there is the opportunity. There is the carrot. There is the prize for Norwich City this afternoon. It's as simple as that, Paddy, isn't it? They've got to win this game.
As Plymouth do, which makes it quite an edgy affair. You sense that around the home areas here as the stadium starts to fill up. Said it on the Insta Live this morning at our base that if they don't win, I think that's pretty much them done. There'll be 7. They are, as it stands,
effectively 8, isn't it?
7, effectively 8 out of safety. So 7 games left starting today. So they need a win. As you rightly said there, Connor, if those other results stay the same, there's a window of opportunity. But to do that, you have to do your business here today. And if you get the win, then it sets up Sunderland Tuesday, Carrow Road.
Indeed, which at least would make or drag the season on by an extra game, which is certainly where they are at this moment in time. Obviously, we're here to bring you the team news. That is going to drop within the next 2 minutes or so. We've seen the Norwich City players on the pitch. We've seen them walking around the pitch as well. Plenty here. Doesn't really look like or seem like there's any surprises, but of course we'll see what that team lineup looks like. There's always the case that we may well have missed someone, which is possible. But Norwich, of course, coming in off the back of that 1-0 win against West Brom last week, where they changed things, changed formation, changed approach. I think we're probably anticipating maybe a bit more of a forward-thinking approach. But you're right, and just on that before the team news comes out, Pad, because I'm going to cut across you in a second. And we'll get it confirmed in a second, but I think we're probably both of the mind that it'll be back to a back 4 today.
Well, you'd be surprised taking your leave from how he messaged it out on Wednesday at his presser, Torup, that I think the takeaway line in that 25 minutes was he wants to have the ball. He doesn't want other teams to have the ball. They gave West Brom the ball in the sense of how they set up last weekend. Lowest possession all season for Torup. I think that's a bit of a hold your nose from him, metaphorically speaking, in terms of the style of play and how he sets his team out. So today, against the team who are at the opposite end of the table, maybe not the same attacking threats as he identified with West Brom. Go for it.
Team news, here we go. This is how Norwich City line up. Angus Gunn in goal. Stacey, Duffy, Cordoba and Fisher. Looks like a back 4. A midfield 3 of McLean, Nunez and Marcondes. And a front 3 of Sienat, Sainz and Sargent. So that is the way Norwich City have lined up. I'll run through that again. Gunn in goal. Stacey, Duffy, Cordoba and Fisher. That definitely looks like a back 4 to me. Nunez, McLean and Marcondes as a midfield 3 with Sienat and Sainz either side of Josh Sargent. The subs bench, Long, McConville, Sorensen, Wright, Slimani, Forson, Hernandez, Bridge and Oscar Schwartau. I'm trying to work out who maybe has made way on the bench for AJ Bridge, but we'll come back to that in a second. What do you make of it, Pad? What's your initial reaction? I like that midfield.
I mean, that's 10 of the 11 I thought he would go with. The only one maybe for me was...
You're a sec, not on the bench today.
Okay, right, okay. We'll leave that can of worms there but for now. But Marcondes for right, maybe, was the only one I could see slightly different. But having said that, in a game that Norwich need to win, they need to be on the front foot. Marcondes offers probably a little bit more than right. Responsibility in that midfield 3 on McLean now to be the more conservative element there. But if you've got Nunez and Marcondes and can interchange with that forward 3, that for me is a 5 that can do some damage here. And yeah, I think we were probably pretty confident it'd be the 4 rather than the 5/3, and that's how it's shaping up. Interestingly, is it going to be Fisher on the left? It seems to suggest it will be in that team graphic, so not Stacey tried on the left. So yeah, for me that's better all round really. That's better. That's a better balance. That's a better approach. That's a better message to send those 1100 and anybody following from afar that what we saw last weekend is the exception rather than the rule under Johannes Torup.
Yeah, he says to me that, as he said on Wednesday, they're expecting a lot of the ball because when you have Nunez, and we'll debate maybe who's going to be in that number 6 position in a moment. Certainly the way it's laid out on this graphic that the club have put out, it looks like Marcelino Nunez, which we've seen in games, and he's spoken about this, where maybe they feel they're going to have more of the ball to dictate in a deeper position from his perspective, with Kenny McLean advancing into one of those 8 areas. Yeah, I think you're right. It feels a lot more Johannes Toropi. It feels a lot more Norwich City this season than what we saw last week, and it's about whether they can incorporate some of those defensive foundations and some of that base work they did against West Brom last week into this performance. Because if we could add that, then I think we'd all be very excited, because we know they can do what we hope them to do creatively.
Well, I mean, therein is now the conundrum, and it's not so much for me in the here and now and playoffs or not playoffs. It's next season after. Can Torp meld defensively what they need to be better at in this division with what he clearly can do, which is get a team in this league scoring goals, creating chances, controlling possession, controlling territory. Hitherto, he's not been able to marry the two, really, certainly not over a consistent seam of games. And that's why we've seen it lurch almost, I think is not an understatement, to Portsmouth, to West Brom style approaches. But that isn't how he wants to go. That isn't sustainable for me. Don't think the fan base would buy into that type of football week in, week out. So today is the first opportunity to see, can he do that? Can he blend out of possession against West Brom in a different shape with a different demands on the players in that shape, to today hopefully a more recognisable top style system, more control of the ball, more chance creation, more support to Josh Sargent, because that moving forward in the bigger picture is where we need to get to under this head coach. He needs to be able to marry both, not show us that he can do one side of the equation but not the other on a consistent basis.
Here's one for you. So this is the first time in a game that Norwich City have started Angus Gunn, Marcelino Nunez, Kenny McLean, Borja Sainz and Josh Sargent since October in that draw away at Stoke City, where Nunez obviously went off with a hamstring injury. This is the first time all five of those have started a game of football, which is well, those four, I think it's even longer with Gunn in the team, because he missed that day, didn't he? With I think George Long was in goal, so you have to go back probably to the whole game for that a week before. But it's October since Norwich City have been able to field all of those five together, and that, as we know, is a key part of their side. Let's speak Matej Jurasek then, Pads. I mean, yeah, again, asked Johannes about this on Wednesday, because I think there's been a lot of questions asked about this fitness building up process and how do you build up fitness if you're not playing games. I thought he explained that quite well on Wednesday. Said he would be available today, not in the matchday squad. It's a concern, isn't it, that we're talking and looking at him potentially having either more fitness issues, injury. Obviously, we don't know. We'll have to ask Johannes after the game. We're speculating at this point, but the fact he's not in that matchday squad is a concern again.
Well, I mean, unless there's some sort of reason that's non-football related, then it has to be a fitness-related issue, because you don't, off the back of what he said to you on Wednesday, you don't then omit him from the 20 unless there's some reason for that. So, but as you rightly say, we're not in receipt of that information yet, so we will certainly bowl that to Johannes after the game. And I guess you hope that it isn't certainly fitness-related, and if it is, that it isn't anything of a nature that would rule him out over the remaining games of the season, because there's absolutely no doubt, it's a puzzle really, how that, even though I thought it was a very good explanation from Johannes midweek, it still, to me, doesn't really sufficiently add up to why you go and you target a player, you bring him in. Yes, you bring him in maybe earlier if you saw him with a view to next season. Yes, all the mitigation about you haven't played a lot of football for Slavia, midwinter break, having to build him up. We know the delay with the Brexit regulation, but
That's a different thing.
all of that, for me, is still concerning. I mean, he's a young, should be an elite athlete, and is the Championship in England that much of a step up, physical-wise, intensity-wise? Surely not. So, is there something more underlying that, maybe that they're having to deal with and get to the bottom of? That would be the concern, and today will only fuel that at this stage. But obviously we'll hope for some clarity from Johannes after the game. But I mean, it's the sum total now. What is it? He started against Hull.
He's played 85 minutes
in total.
Since he came in.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's ridiculous. So, even though that was, I thought, a fair painting of the picture from Johannes, but of course that was Wednesday, and we're now here Saturday, and he's not in the 20. So let's park it for now. But if it is fitness related as to why he's not involved again today, then it'll only fan the flames of what on earth has gone on with that.
Yeah, agreed. Are we in a position to bring the Plymouth team, Adam? We are. Here we go. This is how they line up. Hazard in goal, Shooks, Katic and Pleguezuelo as the back three. Sorinola, Randall, Houghton and Barley Mumba as the left wing back with a free of Obafemi, Hardy and Bundu. Very, a lot of pace in that free. I remember Ryan Hardy in particular, given Norwich City's defenders a pretty tough afternoon last year. Their bench, Grimshaw, Ogbita, Edwards, Wright, Puhach, Giabi, Tiani, Isaka and Palson, who had a particularly poor day at Carrow Road in the reverse fixture of this. I think it was one of his early starts. So that's how Plymouth line up. That midfield dynamic then, Paddy. I mean, would your expectation be that we're looking at Marcelino Nunez in a slightly deeper six role today? Do you think we could see Kenny McLean? I guess the beauty of this is it can be quite interchangeable. I guess we can't completely rule out the fact that it's more of a 2 and a 1 with Marcondes as a bit more of a number 10.
Well, all the above, I could see all of that, and the fluidity allowing them to dictating the game state at any given time. I mean, they're just three very comfortable footballers on the ball. Obviously, McLean is more physically robust than the other two, you would say, but of those three, I just hope we get the Nunez of Stoke. If you remember recently at Carrow Road, where he absolutely ran the show for 60-65 minutes at Carrow Road that day, demanding the ball, finding the pockets of space, linking to, I think it was Dobbin, Sargent and Science that day. Because those attacking players, if you can get Nunez on the ball and dictating the tempo of this game, then it stands to reason they will create chances for that top three, and they need to score goals today to win this game. So to do that, you need Nunez in his pomp, and like what we saw when he came on the other day. A handful of minutes, but the imagination, the ability to execute that ball with the outside of his foot inside the fullback for Sargent to go on and win that game. That's the quality he brings. That's why, for me, he's the best of his type in this squad. In terms of what Torrent wants from his central midfield options. So today, to have him in the side is massive, and just hope that he can get himself into a position where he is the dominant actor in that midfield today. And if he is, then Norwich will have a good day.
Yeah, just had it confirmed that Jurasek is injury related, so that obviously we'll get more from Yanis post game, but that's a concern, isn't it? But that's where we are with him, and obviously we'll try and get timescales and whatnot. But clearly that's a training related issue. AJ Bridge comes on; he's into the squad. He's a midfield. I think he played at left back, didn't he, in the game against Arsenal's 21s on Monday? He was on the pitch. I mean, he struggled. Not his natural position, to be fair, but. Yeah, Jurasek definitely an injury-related issue that has kept him out of this matchday squad. That defence, Jack Stacey again. We're looking at him on the right. I guess Fisher on the left has shown at various times that he's capable of playing that role, even if it's not particularly ideal. But I guess if Norwich want to tuck him in, as we've seen with Callum Doyle at points, to then push Stacey higher, you can see how that dynamic could potentially work with him there.
And that was the early part of the season. That's kind of where the patterns were most identifiable with Torrent. There was the one fullback would tuck in, and the other one would be released then, and they'd still have that numerical superiority almost in the back line. So I could see that again today, because as we know, I mean, although Fisher has started to add those attacking elements to his game, of the two fullbacks, Stacey's the natural one to get forward and support the midfield three and further than that up the pitch, the attacking options, particularly as Yanis said the other week, didn't he? He's got Cernach and Science playing more centrally, more closer to Sargent. So Stacey would give you that natural width and balance. So, I could see that. And it just underlines again the tactical flexibility of Kellen Fisher. I just had a look earlier on. It's 35 championship games this season now. Started 77% of those. So he is now really a key element within this 11, not just the squad, within the 11. And I think that could be the way they go today, because naturally it's playing into the strongest suit of Jack Stacey, which was going that way rather than back towards his own goal.
Yeah, it's been a great season for Fisher. I think I said maybe on a podcast, I think increasingly feels like it's going to be between Sykes and Sargent for that player of the season. I think we all know that, but I think third place, Kellen Fisher probably leads the way for me this year in terms of the way that he's played. Very a very midfield-heavy bench, isn't it, today? Sorensen obviously can play in defence, so I guess he gives some cover in that position, and we've seen him play left-back before. But he's got Wright, Slimani, Forson, Hernandez, Bridge, Schwartau. I mean, it's basically a bench that is dominated by midfielders.
Well, yeah, I think it's more the available bodies, isn't it, ultimately? Yeah, just in terms of game changers, I mean, Slimani obviously has that ability on his day. But Forson, I suppose, you want the ultimate game changer. We go back to that Coventry game, then he can come on and affect
that well for a gritted team.
Yeah, well, we'll move on. But he certainly has that ability if the game dictates it. But not beyond that. I'm not really on L. I think it's safe to say we can see the writings on the wall with him under this head coach. So I think it's a lot of the heavy lifting will have to be the 11 who start the game today in terms of the attacking side of it, because I don't necessarily see too much that will allow them. Schwartau, I guess, has that ability, but we've not seen too much of it. But yeah, obviously Jurasek would have been the one, but not to be today. So I think the emphasis will be on the 3 and the 3 for me today to set the game up, and then if required, I guess you could throw Slimani in.
Yeah, and it could be an afternoon of patience, couldn't it? Because you think about the way Plymouth set up.
They're in the bag, but we're in the shade.
We are in the shade. If we'd have been at the other side, we'd have been primed. And you got to think. I think Plymouth will come out pretty quickly, and then it's about Norwich, I guess, managing that wave and preventing that early goal, and then trying to establish a little bit of control. So they play with a back 3, that becomes a 5, it can become a 4. It can be difficult to break down. So it could be an afternoon of patience here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Although, I mean, you say that, but because of the nature of the situation they're in, I don't think they can be overly patient. Yes, they'll probably come out fast, and then, depending on the game state, they might just sit in a little bit. But if they are, either drawing or losing, they will have to almost go hell for leather, go for broke. And I just think, if you're Johannes and his coaching staff, you probably accept that could be a scenario, and then it's the transitional moments, the counter moments, the pace of Science and Sargent, the direct thrust, the ability for him to stretch the play. Cernach has that athleticism as well. It just feels like if they play it clever and they understand what Plymouth are going to be all about today, that ride out those testing moments, which inevitably are going to be, where our team scrapping for their proverbial lives in this league, and come through that, you could just see a scenario where Norwich, with the attacking edge that they've got, the players they've got, the goals they've got, they can really punish Plymouth if they commit too much forward and leave too many spaces at the back. And if that is the case, and I still stick to what I said this morning, I still think this is a Norwich away win for me.
Yes, I think so too. I think it'll be a bit tight, but we'll come on to score predictions in a moment. I mean, it is that time of the year to sort of end where we began, where you look at results. We're into the final few moments at the CBS Arena. Burnley still leading Coventry by 2-1, and the Hawthorns as well. Just sort of how far is that? That's not that 76. Far away, is it?
The distance-wise.
Distance-wise.
Couple of junctions.
Not that far. But Sunderland still leading West Brom by 1-0. That game, though, is in the 76th minute, so a little bit behind. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer for that result. And in case anyone's interested, Leeds United still being held away from home by Luton, which is, an interesting one. I think we've teased it. I think we're both hoping for a yellow and green day here in Devon. Give us your score prediction in terms of a result, Pat.
Right there on the screen now, Connor. 3-1.
I know scorers.
Well, I'd take it. I'm not too bothered about the scorers, but for all the reasons we've outlined, I think. And you look at Plymouth as well; they concede goals left, right, and centre, as Norwich do, unless they go West Brom, Portsmouth style. So you've got two teams here who aren't the best keeping the ball out of their net. Certainly Plymouth aren't. Minus 37 their goal difference. So Norwich will create chances if they take a healthy sample of them. I think they get the job done. Yeah, 3-1, mate. You?
Yeah, 2-1. I think it's hard to predict Norwich ever keeping a clean sheet, really. I don't think a draw does anything for either team, so that wouldn't surprise me if that's where we ended up. But, both teams can need to win this game. I think it's as simple as that for their respective campaigns. Although I've spoken to our Plymouth colleague who is basically described this season as a death by 1,000 cuts. I think that certainly speaking to him, it feels like the belief is draining out of this place. And if that does... if you can get a first goal here, if you can take the lead and you can take any of that sort of energy out of the crowd that maybe is lacking already, then that will only help Norwich City as well. Of course, we will be across the afternoon. Pinkin.com, the place to go. The live blog is up and running. You can come join me there for updates and debate as well as the game unfolds. Paddy will be speaking to Yanis off top after the game, and we'll have all your usual analysis and reaction as well. Thank you very much for watching. Whether you've made a brutish trip down to Devon this afternoon, as 1,100 Norwich City fans have. I don't know if you can spin round, Adam, and just show us the away end if possible, but if not, then we'll leave it just to get the early shots of them filling up. There's the back of my head. You can see the poorness of my haircut or otherwise, and there is you can see the sunshine basking over Home Park, and that is the away end filling up. The tunnel is just to the right of that. So as we found out last year, Pad, you get rain or shine, the view of those Norwich City fans, irrespective of how it goes, and hopefully it's an afternoon where their journey is worthwhile. Thank you all very much for watching. We will see you again very, very soon.